Hello, everybody, and welcome to the next Dark Delicacies podcast. In reality, if you're watching this live, this is June 24th of 2021, or COVID AD, as I like to call it. You may be watching this that it's archived, so pay no attention to the date, although we'll make a couple of references to things coming up. I'm excited because the convention season is coming back. There's horror conventions going on everywhere. The producer and director of this show, David Markland, puts on a couple of those. So if you get a chance to get out to some of the Southern California conventions, please do and meet some of your favorite people. My excitement is way up today because I have a friend of mine who is just a hoot. I'm going to talk a lot more about her past that they don't want to talk about. You know, it's the lovely Caroline Williams is here with me, and they tend to talk about Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 a lot because that was the money film, so to speak, of getting her really noted in the business. But she's worked with some amazing people, and we're going to go over that. So before we go any further, I would like to introduce Caroline Williams. Caroline, are you out there?
I am. I'm in my kitchen.
Oh, look at that. You make us something?
Well, not really. I do takeout all the time. I do pancake breakfast for my boys when they come over on the weekends. I cook my dog's food. She's a very pampered Chihuahua, and I cook her food.
Yeah, I make
eggs and
takeout.
bacon. Mm-hmm.
I make takeout, so that's good. Yeah. Now, we're here ostensibly because your new film, 10 Minutes to Midnight, right there on the bottom of the screen, has been released. It's like a week old now, right? And
we've been out since January. We had a terrific festival season last fall, especially in the UK, which was really rewarding to me because I've not done a lot of appearances in the UK. Haven't had movies distributed in Europe sometimes. So it was so gratifying to be at Grimfest and be a winner there, and Dead North, and then the Dublin Film Festival, and we got such a glowing reception. Our reviews were so amazing. Universally, we were somewhere between 90 and 100%.
Wow. So by being out, I was actually referring to the Blu-ray and the regular that people can purchase.
I didn't even know that until you told me you had some for me to sign.
Yeah. And she will be coming to Dark Delicacies to do that signing. If you're still watching this before she's already come and signed, she'll be there on Saturday, July 10th. So come by Dark Delicacies and meet her. And she's not signing alone. Did you know that?
I know. Brink's going to be there.
Brink Stevens is going to be there. Who else? I got some other people here who are going to be there. Director Jeff Lieberman is going to be signing.
Love it.
He did Slither.
Slither is so awesome.
It is.
Starring my husband, Rowdy Burns, from Days of Thunder, Michael Rooker.
Yeah. And it's a fun movie. So
you're
going to have good company while you're signing on the 10th. But
I'm
before
very
we
excited.
talk at all about 10 Minutes to Midnight, maybe we can run the trailer, and then after that 2 minutes is up, we'll get back at it. How does that sound?
I love it.
All right, let's go with the trailer. 10 minutes.
My mom used to play the radio while I fell asleep. Usually she'd turn it off once I conked out, but sometimes she'd forget. And there you were. Whenever I heard your voice, I knew it was so far past my bedtime. Just felt like I was getting away with something.
I am the one who convinced Bob to give you one last show.
You got bit by a wild animal tonight. Who knows what kind of diseases those things are carrying? sure you're not seeing anything, Amy? Anything that's not really there? Oh! There's Amy!
You want to bite me again, Amy Marlowe?
Look at me! Hey!
It's just one of those nights.
There's never been a night like this one.
You're losing it, Amy. Everyone is saying so.
It's all you, Amy, I promise.
Strange thing, your last day. And anything, really. Everything's the same. Till it's not.
Ooh, I want to say, oh shit. You've been getting very good reviews and nice word of mouth, great festival appearances. How did you get involved with this film to start with? What drew you to it?
I didn't even know about it because it is very indie, and they're not a part of really the LA horror scene, which is where I get most of my exposure. Ironically, Barbara Crampton was first offer on the film. She had done You're Next with Nick Tucci, and Nick had said, boy, Barbara would be great for this. But Barbara was already doing, she was going to be shooting Castle Freak in Albania. Then she was going to roll right into her vampire film. And, you know, she graciously said to Eric, you should give this to Caroline Williams. It reads like something she would do. And it did. I mean, it had that whole rock and metal angle, which music's been such an important part of my life throughout my life. And I've obviously played a DJ before, but to leap forward by 30 years, it was a great gift from Barbara. And I couldn't have gotten luckier.
You shot this mostly in Connecticut, didn't you?
All on location in an operating radio station in a little town called Willimantic in Connecticut. The two brothers who wrote and developed the project, Carson Bloomquist wrote, Eric directed. They're Yukon boys.
Go Huskies.
Huskies. They're Huskies. And they're very, very young. I mean, we did this now 2 years ago. And, they're in their 20s and their careers have been growing and growing. And they've got a very unique vision. Their stories never go in the direction that you think they're going to go in. So many movies simply are replicas of the great classics from the 80s. And while they love the 80s vibe, they wanted to bring a thoroughly contemporary story with a lot of twists to the vampire legend. I think that's partly why some viewers have been kind of put off by, hey, this isn't, Nosferatu. It isn't. It's one woman's journey, and not just through her own life, but where her transformation into becoming a vampire takes her back through her life. So totally different thing.
Well, that's nice. One of the things you had said, I saw another interview with you, and you were talking about working with the East Coast contingent, not the normal people you work with out here in La La Land. And you had gone to the studio for actors, you had studied, you had done some work on the boards, but you said it was so nice to work with people from the stage because they're trained a little bit different.
Thoroughly. The New York actors have a level of discipline and preparation. I fly by the seat of my pants a lot of the time. I actually developed a different work ethic working on this film. I also knew I didn't want to go to the same emotional spaces and go through the same thought processes that I have done as Caroline Williams. I did not want to bring Caroline Williams to the table. And the thing that was wonderful about Eric Bloomquist, he's truly a director. So often when you're making a lot of these movies, the directors are very consumed with their lighting schemes and their camera angles and compositions and fancy tricks and things like that. It's not that they don't work with the actors. This material was so foreign to me. I'm a different, I'm a very different person now than I was. My life changed considerably 4 years ago. Everything changed. And Eric Bloomquist was the kind of director like Graham Denman before him on Greenlight, who knew that was where I was, and they sensed a lot of raw sort of vulnerability, and they wanted to take advantage of that. And they were protective of me. They weren't going to let me look stupid. They weren't going to let me look, they guided me. And I'm at a stage in my career where I need that guidance from a director.
So you felt very safe working on that film.
It was so, plus the ensemble of actors. These New York actors, as we said, it's a totally different ethos. And I found it very easy to just absorb myself into the way they approached every single scene, every line reading, the way Adam Wepler and I have a scene together where I discover a betrayal from him. And Adam had suggested, since the space is so small and it's hard to work the camera, let's sit on the floor. Gives us a whole new everything. And it changed every single thing about the way we played the scene, sitting on the floor in the studio space. It was so invigorating. I was so excited to go to work every day.
That's great. That sounds like it was so much fun just to do something like that. Now, like you said, this is the second time you've played a DJ. There was some other little film that you were in that you played a DJ in. In Texas Chainsaw 2, which we're only going to touch on very lightly here, you played a DJ also. Did your inspiration for both characters come from anywhere? Like, were you influenced by Adrienne Barbeau from The Fog when she played Stevie, or had you ever been a DJ?
I had never been a DJ. I'd done a lot of voiceover acting in Houston, Texas, how I started my career, how I paid for my acting lessons. And I hadn't seen The Fog at that point, I don't believe. It was only after we had done Chainsaw 2 that I saw The Fog. In point of fact, Toby had said, you need to approach this a little bit like a Western, which was okay. But as we went through the film, as we went through the filming process, I could see very vividly what it was he was trying to accomplish. And Stretch was so much more of an action figure. We were working outside. We had the underground lair. We had this vast physical universe that we were able to work within. In 10 Minutes to Midnight, we're in a closet. We're in a fully operational radio station that's like a little rabbit's warren. It's lots of small spaces all linked together. There's not really room to move. Everything has to happen from the inside out. Everything in Chainsaw got to happen from the outside in. And that was right up my alley as an actress at that point in my life, because I was very athletic and I did do Jane Fonda's workout and I did go jogging 3-4 miles a day. And, it was that kind of thing. Yeah. Very different characters, approaches, stories.
Right. Absolutely. Did you draw on anything in particular for inspiration for this character? Because I have yet to see the movie. But there's a couple of scenes and clips I've seen where you're looking downright dastardly in there, sucking on that lollipop and whatever.
Oh, I suck on something that's a whole lot bloodier. But you'll see that. Like I was saying, when I started my independent life 4 years ago, the very week that I moved into my apartment, I began work on Greenlight. And I was nothing but protoplasm. I was waiting to be shaped by someone. I did not know who I was. I did not know what my identity was going to be. all I knew is that I was scared, and I am so fucking happy I got to work on Greenlight. And Graham Denman sensed that. With 10 Minutes to Midnight, I was just one level up the scaffolding. I felt like when you're building a life, you can only go up one floor at a time. You can't start from the top down. You got to go from the bottom up. And that's what I was doing. And I think Eric also, and the material. And instinctively, Barbara may have known that, she's a very intuitive person. I was ripe to be shaped, and I'm so grateful that it was by the hand of Eric Lundquist.
Now, in Greenlight, let's go to there for a second. That's out. People can find it, right, as a DVD, whatever.
It's on Amazon too. Streaming on Amazon.
It's on Amazon too.
Yep.
What is it about that film, besides being the one that kind of brought you back into the land of the living for the rest of us,
True,
what is
because
it
I've been
about
kind of
that film that got you so excited?
Gosh. Number one, the script. It was a classic noir thriller, which is my very favorite genre of film. I'm mad for noir. I'm mad for Hitchcock. I love suspense. I love twisty-turny stories where you can't pick it apart and go, aha, there's the flaw. Greenlight doesn't have any of those flaws. Chris Browning, who at the time may have not been very well known to a lot of audiences, who is about to become very well known, is an incredible actor. Chase Williamson, the guy is cherished, and for a good reason. Nicole Shipley, Evan Friedman, everybody affiliated with the film was so extraordinary. And Graham came to me. We talked for an hour about it. And I said to him, dude, I don't know that I know what I'm doing. And he said, I will take you where you need to go. Just trust me. I'll take you where you need to go. And it really, I found a home there. I found such a wonderful creative home within that film. Greg and Pam Blunden, our funders, Rudy Scalise, our producer. It was just once again, a delicious experience. And I didn't have to look good, and I didn't have to be presentable. And I just loved the experience. Victor Turpin is in this film. Shane Coffey. Once again, a group of actors that drew me out, drew me in. I love experiences like that. There's nothing like it.
Well, and it doesn't happen that often, so it's like a Christmas present when it happens. It is
so rare. There's a difference between doing work that you love and you relish and you can't wait to get up in the morning, and then there's doing work for the money, and they are definitely not the same things.
No, that's true. Now let's talk about some work we did for the money. Let's talk about after 10 Minutes to Midnight. I believe your next project was Cold-Blooded Killers, was it not?
It was Cold-Blooded Killers.
And that has Brink Stevens and Felissa Rose and a bunch of other people. But I'm hearing things. What am I hearing here about this film? It wasn't the same experience, was it?
It wasn't. I did not do that film for the money. I did it because I think, once again, Felissa Rose is cherished, and for a very good reason. She's rough, she's tough, she's a New Yorker. Her screen persona is absolutely 100%. And I knew, the two of us being paired together, that it was going to be an incredible experience. Fast cars, Dave Sheridan, cute guys, Vincent Ward. Lots of shooting, guns, machine guns, 115 degrees in the shade in Bakersfield. And a remarkable young filmmaker, Ricky Byrd. Ricky Byrd came up in the oil fields. And the whole time he was a roughneck in the oil fields, he was making movies in his mind. And I love it when a filmmaker has a working class background and ethos. And he's essentially kind of self-taught as a filmmaker. But when I saw him, I drove up to meet him. Felissa was there, his DP was there, one of the producers was there. And we went to a couple of the locations, and he walked around telling me how he was going to shoot the scenes. And that gave me confidence. And I thought, you know what, this guy does know what he's doing. Rough and tumble, gritty, sweaty. I like that kind of stuff. I got to have a lot of tattoos. I got to have my favorite makeup artist, Greg Leitner, to create my look. We did an entire portfolio of photos for this character, Becky Cross, that the incredible Jenny Brzezinski took at Vasquez Rocks. And, you know, it was a great experience. Unfortunately, the powers that be decided this was not the movie they wanted to distribute. And they decided to do reshoots and reconstructions, reassemblies, re-editing, re. And unfortunately it did, it has changed the film forever. So what we made and what they made are two dramatically different films.
You're very happy with what you made.
Your
guy's original film. You'd go work for him again.
Oh my God, I've already told him. Told him. I mean, there are certain filmmakers that if I don't get to make any money, it's okay with me, because whatever we do, it's going to enhance my professional reputation. It's going to give me great tape. It's going to give me a great experience. It's going to add to my chops as an actor. You have to be doing those kinds of projects. A lot of these young indie directors, you know, they can't necessarily rope in $2.5 million.
Right.
He's going to be one of the ones that does, though. He will.
Let's go
Ricky
backwards in you. Remember that name. Let's go.
Remember
backwards.
that day.
That's it. We'll go back in your career here a minute, because you have worked. I was so amazed with some of the directors and people that you have been on set with. And what I'd like to do is just throw out a name or a title, and you give me your reaction to that. Some of them were early in your career, so you obviously had a different headset at that time. You've obviously grown a lot, you know, from the ingenue days of coming along.
Oh, of course.
So let's throw something at you. And the first one I want to throw at you is the late, great Louis Malle, who directed Pretty Baby, Atlantic City, stuff like that. But you did, what, Alamo Bay with him?
Yes, I did.
What comes over you when we bring that up?
You know, it was a huge experience. Louis was well known for his social commentary. And for my very first film, it was my very first film. I had been doing industrials and commercials and things like that in Houston. And I hadn't even been taking acting lessons that long. But I was invited in to read by Ellen Chenoweth, who's a huge casting director. I read for him in the room. I was hired nearly immediately. And I land in Corpus Christi, and there's Ed Harris, Amy Madigan. You know, the New York Times was there to cover our shoot.
Big budget.
Candace Bergen, Louis' wife, landed by helicopter outside of our set one night. I had never seen anything like that. It was like landing on another planet. I was terrified. I've been sober a long time. I was not sober then. I was scared enough that I went to set and I went back to my hotel room, and I didn't do anything else. I didn't go out with people to the bars. I didn't go out to a restaurant. I didn't go pick up fast food, because I knew if you go off on a tangent, you're sunk.
Right.
So it was a struggle. It was hard. I was afraid the whole time, but the character is kind of afraid the whole time anyway. So, you know, I just let it fit, you know.
Did you get any one-on-one time with Mr. Maule, or or was he intimidating as a director, or was it because it was your first picture?
No. He was so very French and he was so very generous. He would sit, we were shooting a scene. Most of my action, almost all my action takes place in the bar where I work. And he had a long tracking shot coming down this long table. And he had smudge pots, sending the smoke up and things like that. And he would sit just under the camera lens and watch everything. And I was intimidated by him, but he was not deliberately intimidating at all. I knew him from his reputation. I had seen his films. He is an international director, Oscar-winning director. I mean, it's just, for me to have my very first film experience be with someone like that is, I used to say it's a high water mark that's never been equaled. And until Days of Thunder, yeah. I mean,
right.
I
mean, it was a big budget for one thing.
Oh my God, yes.
And then you went on and you were working with Toby Hooper, who I suppose is a completely different style of director, but also he had the small budget he had to contend with too.
Well, it was $6 million. So it's still much, much bigger than anything I've been dealing with of late. But he was going through a lot of stuff with Cannon Films, and there was just a lot of movie making politics that I didn't know anything about and didn't understand at the time. Right. He was just a very unusual man, and he would just stand right off camera and yell at you, and yeah, Kit Carson would come up with lines and throw them out there, and it was very fly by the seat of your pants. What I loved about it so much is that it was so incredibly physical, running, jumping, playing. That's right. The reason they hired me, is they knew that I would give them a physical performance. And that's what the movie needed. It needed energy and verve, and it needed that. And I whenever we were shooting in the underground layer, which was actually an above ground, right, press run building for the Austin American-Statesman, 3 stories high, massive stories high. Art direction by Kerry White. The guy's amazing. It was my own private little playground, and all I had to do was have fun. And that's what I did. I covered every square inch of that place. And in retrospect, what's unusual is we didn't use even half of the space in there, because so many scenes, unfortunately, had to be cut because of, time constraints and budget constraints that were imposed by Cannon Films. So there were a lot of things we didn't get to do, but believe me, I mapped it out in my mind.
So then you got to work with a good friend of mine, Jeff Burr, in Stepfather 2. How was that?
Jeff, I love Jeff. I wish he were still making films.
Me too.
Jeff Burr is one of the most gifted individuals, one of the most generous, one of the most expansive, but he does know what his vision for his film is, and he's going to make it come true. And you're going to need to do your job the way he sees you doing your job. Doesn't mean he's not going to let you go off and, have some fun with your lines, but he definitely has some very important ideas of what kind of movies he wants to make. And I believe Stepfather 2 is one of the best horror film sequels that's ever been made. Inexplicably, John Auerbach, the screenwriter, never wrote another script after that. I don't understand it. I mean, that script is fantastic. It's funny. It's scary. It's got a little bit of everything, And we had Terry O'Quinn, and
right,
number one asset.
So then you went back to big budget with Tony Scott directing Days of Thunder. How was that experience?
Once again, it was very like my very first experience with Louis Malle. Now that budget was gigantic. I don't even know what that budget was. Bruckheimer and Simpson were the golden boys of Hollywood at that particular moment in time. They brought in Robert Towne to polish the script and do those things, and to just sit in the presence of Robert Towne completely blew me away. Don Simpson insisted on building a racing team, including some of the cars. They built a racing team for the film. In many ways, I felt like I was mostly a spectator. The role that Meg Ryan had played in Top Gun was greatly reduced as I played it in Top Car. So Top Gun, Top Car. But I will say it was the experience of a lifetime. All the guys that played racers and the team owners, you know, Randy Quaid, they were all wonderful. Don Simpson was a gentleman to me. I got treated like a queen. Tom Cruise gave me a little television set for Christmas. I mean, you know, and Tony just had the most, you know, he just was filled with spirit and creativity and risk. And he liked being right down in the pit. He liked being on the track. The guy was fearless. You would see him down there at the raceway, and it was like a toreador with a bull, you know, in the middle of a, you know, bull ring in Spain or something. You know, he was an amazing guy, and I hate having to speak about him in the past tense. He could have had so many more accomplishments, so many more amazing things could have come from him.
Right. One last one in this line of thinking. Then you went on to some little film with a director. I think his name was Ron Howard. And you did How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Now that has got to be a completely different experience.
It was green screen, and I had never done green screen before. And I had this chandelier hairdo on my head, and then my fun little husband, and we had our little car, and it was all green screen, and looks were directed with a laser pointer. It was very disembodied. It was hard to relate to, and I loved being affiliated with the film. I loved that I got to do the film, but I was just a human costume.
What color were you?
Green.
Green.
I was a Who.
You were.
I was a little Who woman.
Now, would you look forward with trepidation to if you had to do another green screen movie, or do you think you have a better feel for it now?
Well, I haven't done it again since,
right.
But if I could do wire work. Bing.
Let's talk about one more subject that you're vocal on, which I really, really like, and it kind of evolved as the industry has changed in front of me. You know, I've been doing this, 25, 30 years. So it's been really strange, but there's a difference about ageism now in Hollywood. It used to be all the young, pretty, buxom females and muscle-bound guys doing the horror films. But now we've got some real seasoned performers who can put it out there on the line, and I kind of like that. And you don't shy away from your age or the fact that you're an older actress because you've got that knowledge under your belt.
Yeah, and I have a great body.
Well, there's that.
But you know, for me,
it hasn't seemed to hurt you that you're the age you are.
I don't believe it has. I think actually, I think a lot of it has to do with genre. When you look at all the actresses in our game, Barbara Crampton, Heather Langenkamp, Adrienne King, Jamie Lee Curtis, for God's sakes. If anybody took big risks in the last couple of years, it's her taking that role in the Halloween reboot. I just think it's almost as though our places were laid at the table early on, and the fans are still interested in us, and they're still interested in the stories that we want to be a part of. And I believe that we've all had pretty successful movies of late. And the fact that these younger filmmakers are gravitating to us, the fact that these two young men from Connecticut wrote such an exquisite screenplay about a woman my age in the entertainment business, it really spoke to me. I hadn't read anything from another man or woman, frankly, in the last couple of years that compared. And I don't think there's a better time than now to be in this genre and to be who I am and to who so many of these other women that I share, the business with. I don't know. I don't know that it's ever been a better time.
It's almost like before you guys might have been scream princesses, but now you're really scream queens.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take it.
You're up there at the top, and it's
give me
amazing
my dang
you're
crown.
You should have worn one today.
I
Eat that butter.
know.
You're in the kitchen. It'll put one. But thank you so much for coming out. I really appreciate you spending the time with us. Say hi to your son for me.
Listen, he asked me to say hello to you, so mutual back and forth on that. He's going to come with me to the signing, and he's so excited to do it. And Del, I can't thank you enough for giving me the time tonight and the signing opportunity on the 10th at Dark Delicacies. It's one of my favorite things.
3 p.m., 10 minutes to midnight. Caroline Williams and some other lovely people. Be there or be square. Thank you, David Markland, director, producer, and we're out of here.
Mwah! Thank you, Del.